And in today's F1 news, Max Verstappen yet again is out here setting records, because on the back of another domination on the back of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this weekend past, Max ascends now to 4th on the all times list, leading a total laps of 2,960, overtaking one Ayrton Senna. Now he's bettered only by Lewis, Michael and Seb. Some list that. And the power rankings for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix were released today. That is, of course, the consensus average driver ratings given by some of the most prominent F1 journos in the game. In equal third place on 8.2 out of 10, Oscar and Charles. In second with a 9.0, you've got one Ollie Behrman. And top of the charts with a 9.6 yet again. Who else could it be but Max Verstappen? He's collecting all the Infinity Stones. Ugh, he's got no manners, this fella. Leave some of the records for someone else, why don't you? And yet more ominous still, of the 19 drivers in F1 history to win the first 2 races of the season consecutively, only 4 have gone on to lose the championship. And there are 2 chances that Max makes his 5 of 19. Slim and none. And a dominant Saudi Grand Prix notwithstanding, Max has come out and spoken about how dangerous that circuit is, with the Dutchman saying even if you have a tiny moment around high speed corners in sector 1 as an example, it can all go very wrong very, very quickly. Verstappen continues, I feel like it's a huge accident waiting to happen. And that's why I find it a bit hard to come here. Maybe it's a bit too high risk. And the FIA for once want to take heed here, because for Max to say this after that qualifying lap, well, that matters. And with Gilles Villeneuve's high-speed fatal incident still fresh in the memory, it couldn't be more imperative that the FIA for once remember what they're paid to do. Safeguard. Speaking of which, when we're talking about jump starts, it wasn't only Lando this weekend past. Checo Perez too was guilty of a rolling start. But of course, when it comes to policing the sport, instituting the very flaky rules and regulations in a manner that's consistent across all competitors, the FIA once again missing in action. They didn't even see it. And though we're now 4 days out from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, what the Ollie Behrman hype train isn't doing is losing steam. As Michael Schmidt reports that Ferrari really wanted to put Ollie Behrman in an F1 seat this year. Please see Haas F1. But because the issues over at Haas were so multitudinous, Ferrari, they thought better of it. Indeed, lest they wish to overburden one 18-year-old Ollie Behrman in his first F1 season. Even for Ollie, you'd imagine that developmental weight would be too heavy to bear. Behrman, however, for next year is a top candidate to be sure. Testament to that, the Behrman was testing the F175 around Fiorano today. And with Sainz Jr. still recovering from appendicitis, we may see Behrman at Australia just yet. Stay tuned. And with Antonelli, Lawson, Drugovich, Pourchaire and now Behrman all waiting in the wings, never more than now has the Andretti decision looked nonsensical, counterproductive even. And all this as Red Bull's key personnel continue to dominate silly season. And in stark contrast to rumours over the past 48 hours alluding to Adrian Newey's potentially joining Ferrari, today Jonathan Noble reports the situation around Newey's position is stable, stasis. He's not going anywhere. Noble writes that both Newey and Pierre Vacher are happy where they are, that they're exploring other projects, being the hypercar RB17. And as if you needed further proof of this, Newey was present in the Red Bull garage at Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and he will be too in Japan. But whilst this isn't good news for the likes of Toto and Lawrence, I don't think they'll pause for a second when it comes to trying to get that Newey signature. I mean, his thesis in university was ground effect in sports car, for Pete's sake. Why would they? And Autosport has continued to speculate on the future of 3-time champ Max Verstappen. Of course, against the backdrop of the ongoing power struggle that's a function of the Christian Horner debacle. Autosport go out on a limb making the case that Max Verstappen might be headed not to Mercedes, but to Aston Martin. I mean, they have the resource, they have the prestige, they may even be best of the rest, and seats available in 2025 they'll have at least one. And far for it to be Helmut Marko to be away from the limelight, he's making headlines again, doing his favourite thing in the world, criticising Daniel Ricciardo. There's a lot at stake for Daniel this year, says the Austrian. 2 subpar performances. He's going to have to come up with something very soon. And Ricciardo had his own set of explains for his underperformance in the first Grand Prix Bahrain, saying that he left too much on the table, was too risk averse. But in Jeddah, the Honey Badger cut a forlorn figure, telling a story that we've heard from him before. He blamed the car. He's copy-pasting now excuses from his time at McLaren. Come on, Daniel. And as if Daniel needed any additional pressure, Helmut Marko cranks the pressure dial up to 12, as he always does, stating for the avoidance of doubt that a Liam Lawson waiting in the wings is an exceptional talent. Marko anticipates no less than plenty of movement in the drivers' market that Lawson stands to benefit from. Oh, the humanity. And Sky Sports F1's Martin Brundle has done a double interview with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz Jr., advertising for their title sponsor Shell. And for fans of the Ferrari pairing, the dichotomy has never rung more true. Charles Leclerc cutting a naive figure, shy, retiring, a man of few words. Carlos Sainz, in stark contrast, was working the room, constructively challenging Martin Brundle's framing. Cerebral, no strategic at every juncture. He spoke succinctly to Ferrari's gap analysis, where they are now and what they need to do to get to Red Bull. In 5 stanzas, Sainz Jr. must have mentioned strategy 5 times. Indeed, a fascinating insight into one of the most strategic minds currently on the grid. Make no mistake about it, Scuderia have absolutely traded up by signing Lewis Hamilton. But if not for his driving, maybe for his mind, Ferrari will be poorer in 2025. And viewing figures are out for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, 920,000 this year as versus 1.5 million last. Notwithstanding the downgrade to ESPN2, in absolute terms, that's still a drop of 40%. Jeez. For Greg Maffei, Liberty Media, Mohammed Ben Sulayem and Stefano Domenicali, Houston, we have a problem.